Hello and welcome to the Mortal Kombat Minute, the podcast where we analyze, criticize, and memorialize the 1995 film Mortal Kombat one action-packed minute at a time. I'm Phil Casper from philcasper.net.
I'm Spanish from GameFixShow.com.
And we are on the 13th minute of this wonderful movie. The minute starts with a concerned Raiden saying, "There is no one else." Mm-hmm. And the minute ends with Liu walking along the dock of the bay.
Yes. Not sitting on the dock of the bay. Just
walking.
He
is walking. In between sparks, if I remember correctly.
That's right. Yeah, that's true. So we see Liu Kang. Obviously, he's walking off because he is going to find his brother's killer at the tournament. As he's walking off, you see the monastery that we started the movie off in the background.
Ooh, hold on. One second. Like you're missing the final half of that line from Raiden though.
Oh yeah.
He's saying there's no one else.
That's right.
And I want to note that this is the last time in the entire movie, I believe, that we see Raiden in his signature coolie hat.
Yeah, I believe you're right. Yes.
And I'm gonna miss that hat because that's like an iconic hat for me. That's the only reason why I can like really that's like the one thing whenever I'm looking at a Raiden cosplay or something like that, I'm like, where's the hat?
Yeah, totally. And it's funny because like when you play the game, especially nowadays, they all have like different skins and stuff that you could like, trade. And what are these wearing? And some of the skins, he's not wearing a hat, some of that he is. So I guess he can take it off.
Right. Yeah. Fair enough. But I thought that was just one neat thing to note before we continue on. But now,
okay, no, I'm glad you said that. Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine.
So Liu's walking off, and I do like this wide shot of the whole temple grounds and whatnot that we're looking at.
Yeah, like I mean, you see it in the background, and you see it in its entirety too. And you also see, and I know you like to call it out, the children running in the background.
Oh, there were children still being late to something in the background. I guess
I don't know if they were late. They were all walking in a line together, which is weird because if the scene was them and they were all lined up in the monastery together, and then I don't know if it was a mess up. Maybe they just didn't notice. Maybe it doesn't even matter. But then it showed even more of them outside of it. So I don't know if there's that many monks around, or
I don't know. I'm thinking maybe this is the time for the monks to go off to their prayer time or whatever. Because if you look at the biggest, like the tallest temple, like right in the center of the shot in the background, as Liu's walking away, you see some monks actually walking up the steps to go into the temple. So I assume maybe they're going to go pray or something like that.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Yes, I'll take that. But right after that happened, scene change. Yes. So and pretty much go ahead.
The use in music, like doing that scene change, like with the bells happening and the drums, it kind of got me a little bit off kilter because like I mean like Liu is storming off and so it like so the dissonance from the bells kind of got me mentally in a sense like just off kilter whenever we were.
It was almost like they're letting him go but they're still doing their daily whatever. Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, it's not but right when that happens, then the scene kind of turns black and then it gets kind of ominous again.
Exactly.
And then we pull up, and I'm excited. I hope you have it. I don't know. I'm assuming, and I might be calling you out on this point, but there's a black limo that pulls up, and I'm just wondering if you have information on this black limo.
Well, I'm so happy you asked, Spanish. That's a great a great segue.
I really honestly don't know if you have it or not.
So. I made a point to because this is the final car that you'll see in the movie, and it is a 1990 Lincoln Town Car stretched limousine. And I can do one better. You can tell that it's from the 1990 to 1994 line of Lincoln Town Cars because it doesn't have the 3 running lights along the bottom edge of the trunk lid. So I love it. I have to shout out and give credit to Matt Tracker on the Internet Movie Car Database.org.
Nice. No, I like that just because, you see this limo, obviously. I feel like we all kind of knew who was in the limo as it pulled up. Right. We will get to that. So let's talk about the scene though as it pulls up because you're obviously in the docks. This limo is driving on the docks, which is weird. I don't know if you're allowed to do that.
Yeah, it's presumably Hong Kong, so I don't know what the regulations are.
Sure. That's fair. That's fair.
They have I can almost like probably in this one scene alone, I can spot like maybe 20 OSHA violations.
Oh yeah.
With the amount of workers that are on the dock but not wearing, proper headgear and things
the
like
random burning barrels everywhere.
Yeah. Like why are they burning? I don't get it.
But, and then not to mention all the people welding with all the sparks just flying everywhere.
I didn't know welding could generate that many.
Oh yeah, well that isn't a question as far as me, but the fact that it's just happening in front of people is kind of, I don't know. Maybe it's a Hong Kong thing, because as it does pull up, the scene. There's a title card on the bottom and it says Chai Wan Bay, Hong Kong. So at least you know kind of where you are.
Right. I assume this is Pier 40. Is that right?
Sure.
I assume so. Because where else would we be in Hong Kong?
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, that's fine. Well, there's one thing that I noticed in this scene, and I'm talking about just as the limo is pulling up to the docks here. There's a metal wall to the left of the limo, and I don't know if you noticed it, but it on the wall was a painted face.
Yes, I did notice that there's a mural there, and it's a little the screen capture that I have. Yes, there's only one painted face, but there is another painted face further to the left on a little bit wider of a shot. But no, you have something interesting on it. I want to.
I do have something interesting because I looked at that and I like you definitely kind of studied it a little bit to see what the hell is that and why is that there. Well, when I looked at it, I noticed that there's also a plus sign above it, and it's a red plus sign, which normally means like health or medical, whatever, right?
Oh my God! Wait, I have a theory.
Okay. Well, I mean, you want me to tell you mine yet, or do you want to do yours?
Oh, I thought you actually had like the correct answer. So I was gonna like.
No, I don't. I don't have the correct answer.
Okay, let's see if they match. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Okay. Well, I'm 100% sure they don't. Okay. So actually, you know what? You do yours first. Now that I think about
it. Okay. Well, like you're saying the plus sign. You're mentioning health and whatnot. So I'm thinking, is this an homage to the fighting game genre, and where like whenever I noticed earlier that they had two painted faces facing each other. Are they two fighters facing off?
I didn't think of that.
Side-scrolling action fighting type of game homage, but that's my theory. That's a theory that I just thought of. But
that's fair. That's fair.
Yours. Go ahead.
That is not my theory. My theory is if you notice the painted man on the wall, he looks like what I got out of it. He's kind of looks like an Indian.
Okay.
He has red, I don't know, maybe red, but red lines on his face, painted, long black hair. He kind of looks like an Indian, like a traditional Indian. Well, after thinking about it, this movie came out in 1995, which also in 1995 was the release of Mortal Kombat 3.
Okay.
Was also the introduction of a certain character named Nightwolf, who is also Native American. He's a Native American shaman. So my total theory is that is just an homage to the game that came out the same year, and that's who that is.
I really like that theory. That actually makes a lot of sense. And now that I'm like looking at it zoomed in even more, like oh my gosh, like that is totally plausible. So I like that a lot. That is,
I mean, it's so quick, it's so fast. You just see it and it's gone. But when I look at it and I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. Seeing as how the same year Mortal Kombat 3 came out, and so was the character introduced. So I don't know. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it.
What? That's a good fine Spanish, and that's a very solid theory. I mean, especially because there's just so much going on in this one. Like almost, you could argue it to be just a throwaway scene since we're transitioning and just establishing the mood.
Okay, well let's get past that still shot and get to some actual action. Well, more or less
action.
So that scene is over, and it goes to a close up of luggage, like sitting on the ground,
like some designer bags, something like that.
designer bag. And I think again we all kind of know who this is. As it pans out, yes, we see Johnny Cage, and he shuts the trunk. Which, by the way, why was he unloading the luggage?
Because I guess it's because nobody else was there to unload it for him.
Well, the limo driver should do that. At least I don't know. Maybe
I don't know. A lot, like, you know what? The limo driver's having a hard enough time driving on the dock. I don't think he needs to get out. Like enough hazard pay there. Like who knows how stable the dock is to support the weight of the vehicle. But I know that in the book, Johnny Cage was already riding in the limo with his agent, and the agent said, "Oh, I've already found some people on the dock and paid them, so they'll help you get your luggage out." But that didn't make it into the movie at all.
Well, there is something that kind of made it in the movie, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but anyway, so you see the pile of luggage, and he kind of like hits the back of the limo, like gives it a tap, and it drives away. Johnny Cage looks up, and he kind of has a disgusted look on his face. Which, by the way, as he has that disgusted look on his face, there's some guys in the background. They're out of focus, but they're kind of walking towards Johnny Cage, and they're all carrying like army bags, like duffel bags.
Okay.
And the one like kicks. So I'm assuming that they're in the tournament as well.
That's what I thought as well. Like, they don't look like workers.
Okay.
And
no, they don't.
Because I think we'll see this in a couple of later minutes, where like there are a lot more people just waiting on the dock than just Johnny Cage and the other characters that we've been introduced to so
just
far.
The three inside the boat, right? Yeah. Well, anyway, so Johnny Cage kind of is like disgusted, and we want to see why. So the camera pans over, and it's a guy standing there holding like a tabloid magazine.
Yeah, well, right? I have it noted down that it looks like he's just he has the same exact tabloid magazine as Master Boyd was reading.
Yes.
A few minutes prior. It's just the Chinese version of the National Enquirer.
Right, or whatever it's called. Well, so he kind of snatches it out of his hands, and the guy was like, "Hey, like what the heck? Who are you?" And he looks at it, and there's like a close-up shot of this magazine, and it's a crudely, I would say, Microsoft Paint created picture. If you know what I'm talking about.
You could tell like this thing was very roughly cropped. Like
totally.
Cage's image was very roughly cropped. He still has like that tiger pose.
Yep. Well, I did a little research, and I actually did a little translating.
Oh, I'm curious to see what yours says, because I have what mine says.
Oh, you have something too? Okay, cool. No, that's awesome. Well, the red up in the top left corner is the title of the magazine. Now, keep in mind, I used like Google Translate, so there some of the language could be a little off, right? But what I got in that red section is family newspaper.
Okay.
It could say something else before that because it was kind of cut off.
Yeah, I couldn't even translate it, so you did better.
Okay, that's fair. Like it only translated like the bottom line. So and then the line next to it that was in the white with just the black writing. I got, and this was interesting, and I did it a few times just to make sure I did it correctly, And what I got was the goods are Ohio manufactured. Amazing.
Okay, yeah, I got a similar translation there. Like the goods.
Okay, what was yours?
The goods are Ohio create, blend amazing.
Create. Okay, so we're kind of on the same page here. I like it.
A little bit.
So then we kind of scroll down a little bit. There's like an orange box with Chinese writing on it. And what I got out of that orange box, it says "Amazing people." How are we doing so far?
That one for me said "Awesome Marvel."
Okay, so we're kind of like there's some language barrier,
We're
obviously.
like playing the couples game with a magazine cover
I like
in
this.
another language. This
I
is
like
great.
this. Well, it gets even more interesting as we go. So it says Johnny Cage fake, but there's also a Chinese writing in the middle. And I got it was announced that.
Mine it was announced.
Okay,
So
all right.
we'll
So
count
we're
that
on the
as a
same
win.
page. Okay,
There's
good.
a point. There we
Oh,
go.
oh, totally. Okay, and then the bottom left-hand corner. This was really funny to me. Did you get that one too?
Yes, I got that one.
Okay, cool. Well, there was a picture of it looked like a little boy, right? In that little picture there.
Yeah.
And what I got,
person.
again, it could be the language, whatever, it's a little mixed up. But I have 9-year-old boy shipped in a carton.
I got 8-year-old boy shipping in box.
All right, well, I'd say we're pretty close as far as, but oh, that's so funny. I love it. Okay, cool. Yeah,
that has been this couple's game.
Yeah, this is what we do. We have to really tear apart every little bit of this movie.
Well, okay. One thing I wanted to dive into though, real quick, was before we even saw the front page, like you could see the inside.
Oh yeah.
Did you happen to translate any of those?
I did not. I did not. Just because it was just like, I wasn't. I did know. However, I did notice like it what looked like a maybe like a game or something, like a. I don't know.
I guess at a passing glance, yeah, it might have been like whenever I first saw it, I was like, what is that? Is that some sort of just game or whatever?
Yeah.
But actually, like after translating a couple of things on there in headlines, it looks like the guy wasn't even reading about Johnny Cage, because he was the page that was open was basically the stock and business section. So,
okay.
So some things on there said like index currently at 0. Japan is less dangerous. I interpreted that as risky, in terms of investments. And then on the left page, there were like some quick stock values for different companies and point values.
Well, obviously, when he came over, he wasn't worried about what he was reading. He just saw the cover of the book. Or of the
so some tempers flared, but
yeah.
So Johnny Cage, snatches the paper away and then kind of starts to recognize who he snatched it away from.
Yeah, he looks up at him, and he where I have it here. He goes, give me a. Oh yeah, he said. Well, first before he snatches, he says, "Give me a break," and he snatches the magazine. That's what I had. And then the guy says, "Look, don't let him get to you." That's what it was. And then Johnny Cage says, "Yeah, sure. Hey," and then he realizes who he is. And he goes, "Hey, you're Art Lean, aren't you?" And then he says, "Man, I saw you fight in London. You were great." So there was some kind of obviously he knew who he was. They've never really actually met before.
He has some. So Art has some presence in that, or notoriety in that he apparently goes into very public fights that could, I guess, arguably be televised, or just like either whether they're boxing matches or martial arts, something to that extent, something to put his face out there to let somebody like Johnny Cage recognize him just off the street. Right.
Well, apparently and I did a little research, and I know you're usually the guy that it's about the book and all that. But in the book, Art Lean actually fought somebody in London, and which by the name of Caesar Sarant. Have that right?
Well, okay, you're right on the name, but
okay.
And I actually referred back to the book for this. It wasn't too. I thought it was not actually in London. It was in Stockholm, Sweden.
Oh,
because he fought in Stockholm Arena against Sarant, who was a Belgian guy.
Interesting. Well, then who the heck is Art Lean? He's not really anything. I guess they kind of like.
Yeah,
he's just in the book. Not a fighter.
He was created exclusively for this movie.
Right.
That is it.
But he is an Earth Realm warrior.
Exactly. He's one of the best. Otherwise, why would he be there? Which, how did he get there anyway?
I don't know. There was no story on that.
I'm glad I asked myself that question, because in the book, actually, after he beats Sarant in the fight, he wins the championship title at the Stockholm Arena, and then he goes back for some R&R into the locker room, maybe answers some questions. He actually finds himself just alone in the locker room, nobody else there, and next to his massage table is this Mortal Kombat scroll with dragon emblem and everything, just waiting for him.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So, but obviously that wasn't even important because who the heck is this guy?
Exactly, and we'll
and it turns out
a little bit later.
Right, yeah. And interesting note: a lot of people were calling for Art Lean to be a playable character in the new game. How about that?
Really? In Mortal Kombat?
Oh yeah. A lot of, there's a little underground people like calling it out, like, yeah, put Art Lean in it.
Like a cult grassroots movement. You know what? I can get behind that. That'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah, me too. Like now I kind of want it to be in there. Like totally.
It'd be awesome. Just add it in as some DLC or something. You're good to go.
Yeah, they just recently released Spawn. Why not Art Lean? Right? Exactly. I don't know. So, but anyway, we digress. So as he pretty much like sees who he is and says, "You were great." Art says he thanks him. And then he says, "I saw a couple of your films." He's like, "Listen," he's like, "you can't fake those moves." And then, of course, Johnny Cage says, "Yeah, tell that to the press."
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
But as this conversation's going on, we then move to the final shot of this minute of Lou walking towards them on the dock, trying to dodge a few sparks from a welder. Not really a welder, I don't think.
Yeah, so he's welding something.
Is he welding, or is he like or is he just like grinding metal
or he's cutting? I don't know. Yeah,
doing
I don't know.
Something with that.
Honestly,
a lot of sparks.
He's probably doing nothing. That's the
point. Right. Yeah.
But it just made him look like there's people working around there and he's busy. I don't know. That's what I got out of it. But it was pretty much a determined Liu Kang walking up and he kind of like puts his hand up because there's a sparks flying.
Right. And I don't really see a bag on him right now as he's walking.
No.
Does he have a bag? He travels incredibly light.
Yeah, he doesn't need it.
As opposed to Johnny Cage, who travels incredibly heavily.
Well, I think that's definitely the comparison between the two. Keep in mind, Liu Kang was a monk before this happened. So as far as earthly possessions, they probably don't have any other than like their robes that they're wearing.
Fair enough.
So they are probably used to having nothing, and he'll be fine. But it's funny. I mean, I don't want to take too much away, but later he gets on the island and he has like totally different outfits. Like, where do you get all that? But we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into that. But as far as this minute, that's really the end of my notes.
That's what I got. Yeah, that was a good one. That was a fun one.
Okay, all right. Well, that ends this minute, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Phil Casper.
I'm Spanish,
and we'll see you next time on the Mortal Kombat Minute.